apply, or even if he fails to apply, even if he is interested, or maybe if he becomes disinterested, but the advantage is always with him. It is an eternal advantage. He will advance on the path of perfection, on the path of liberation. So welcome all to move in this direction of gaining transcendental knowledge. This chapter is entitled Transcendental Knowledge. We are discussing the fourth chapter, and we are in a very, very important section. This is applying knowledge, karma, and performing action. So karma, which is performed, which is backed by Gyan. So karma on the platform of Gyan. We will begin with invocation, and then we will see from verse number 19. Om, you show them the invocation. Mangala Charan gave page number 1. Okay. You have given them the printed one? Okay. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavansha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vacha Aditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Lamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine. Hare Krishna. So in Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter, which is entitled Transcendental Knowledge, Divya Gyan, this knowledge is beyond the realm of material mind and material intelligence. This knowledge is directly enumerated by the Supreme Lord. And in this section, very interestingly, Krishna is speaking how to perform action which can bring perfection. In this human form of life, everyone is helpless to perform some action. No one can be inactive. Is it possible for anyone to be inactive? One may go to the Himalayas. One may leave his house, his occupation, his family. An escapist, as we say, an escapist. But still, can he stop eating? Can he stop breathing? Can he stop sleeping? No. So Krishna has already in the 3rd chapter given this principle. First, he gave the principle of how to act. That is in the 2nd chapter, in the Buddhi Yoga section. Krishna says that Buddhi Yukto Jahati hai Ubhay Sukrito Dushkrito Tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karmashu kausalam. In the second chapter and 50th verse. So Krishna is talking about how to perform action being situated in Buddhi Yoga. So what is that application of Buddhi Yoga here? Krishna is revealing that how to perform an action which is the art of all work. What is the art of work? That you perform action, but that action cannot bind you. But that action becomes the reason for liberating you or making you become advanced in your human form of life. And then Krishna said in the third chapter that those who are having this material body, Sharir Yatra, they cannot afford to remain inactive because one cannot maintain his body without performing action. 3.8. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karmjayo hi akarmana sharir yatra pichate ma prasidet akarmana. Because one cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. As I said, one is inevitably going to eat, one is going to sleep. All bodily action one has to perform, even if he does not work. But actually he cannot cease from work. So how to work? This section, Krishna is enlightening and educating Arjuna, and through Arjuna he is educating all of us. So in the last verses we saw, Krishna gave the principle. Anyone remembers what principle we discussed in the last class? How many of you attended? What was the principle? There is principle, there is practice, and then there is perfection. So first one has to begin with the principle. Unless and until one knows the principle, he will not be able to practice. And unless and until he practices, there is no question of perfection. So what is the principle that Krishna gave? Yes, Sanika. Give the mic, please.
Everyone who's seeing action in inaction and inaction in action.
Yes.
He has the perfection.
Yeah, he is Buddhiman Manushyasi. And he is Yuktaha. So now in the series of verses from 19 till 24, Krishna will speak about how to perform inaction in action. Although working, although performing all activities, but those activities will not bring any reaction. That is the art of work. ठीक है, समझ में आ रहा है? सुनिए, अगर नहीं भी समझ में आ रहा तो केवल सुनिए. सुनने मात्र से धीरे धीरे समझ में आने लगेगा. क्योंकि पहले पहले प्रिंसिपल पकड़ना पड़ेगा, फिर उसको क्या करना पड़ेगा? अपनी लाइफ में इंटीग्रेट करना पड़ेगा. कैसे? प्रैक्टिस से. प्रैक्टिस नहीं करेंगे तो परफेक्शन नहीं आएगा, प्रिंसिपल भी भूल जाएंगे. तो ज्यादातर लोगों के साथ यही समस्या है, प्रैक्टिस के लेवल पे नहीं आ पाते हैं, तो प्रिंसिपल बुक में रह जाता है और परफेक्शन केवल ड्रीम में रह जाता है. ओके, सो वी विल टेक द 19th verse. Krishna says, Yasya sarve samarambha काम संकल्प वर्जित ज्ञान अग्निदग्ध कर्माणाम तामाहु पंडितम बुधा. So Krishna is saying how a person who is performing all action, but his action does not bind him or does not bring him reaction, because his action, yasya sarve samarambha, that all his actions, which is arambha, samarambha, his attempt, they are all based on kama sankalpa varjita. Varjita means free or devoid. What is the sankalpa? And sankalpa means the endeavor or the impetus to perform the endeavor. समझते हैं ना? कोई भी कार्य करने के पीछे क्या चाहिए? प्रेरणा चाहिए, संकल्प चाहिए, है या नहीं? अभी आप लोग IRI में पढ़े तो कुछ संकल्प है ना? क्या संकल्प है? साइंटिस्ट बनना है, कुछ करके दिखाना है. So that sankalpa, where is that sankalpa to perform the action is coming from kama varjita. So one whose all actions or all his endeavors or the inspiration for endeavor is devoid of all selfish motives, or it is not based on one's sense gratification. Prabhupada says, which is not based on desire for sense gratification. Such a sankalp. How can one receive that sankalp and how can one perform such an action? Jnana. When one is situated in jnana. And what does jnana do? It does the part of a fire, Agni. What does Agni do? Burns. So Jnana Agni means the fire of knowledge burns what? Dagdha karmana. What it burns? It burns the reaction of the action. I'll give you one example. You eat fruits, कोई भी फल आप खाते हैं, फल के बीच में क्या मिलता है? बीज. और उस बीज से क्या निकल सकता है? पूरा पेड़. और उस पेड़ से असंख्य फल मिल सकते हैं. ठीक है, आप सब एग्रीकल्चर साइंटिस्ट हैं, लेकिन आप एक एक्सपेरिमेंट कर लो. उस बीज को, उस सीड को आप फ्राई कर दो. Just roast it or fry it. And then you plant it in the soil. What will happen? No germination will take place. The seed is the same. But what is the process? It has been burned by fire. Isn't it? Similarly, Kṛṣṇa is giving very beautiful analogy that the fire of knowledge, which knowledge? Transcendental knowledge, which Kṛṣṇa is revealing. If you are situated in this transcendental knowledge, and if you perform action, so action has to be backed by knowledge. What is our action impelled by? Normally, what is our action impelled by? Our desire for enjoyment. So Kṛṣṇa is recommending to replace the action which is based on our desire for enjoyment to be based on Jnana. And which Jnana? The Jnana that he is giving, not any ordinary Jnana. So he says, Jnana Agni Dagdha Karmanam, the fire of knowledge, the fire which I am giving you of this knowledge will burn the reactions of birth. And such a person is Tamahu Panditam Vidha. So such a person is called Pandita. Pandita means knowledge, learned. And he is using the word Buddha. Buddha means he is considered to be learned by the sages, not by the ordinary man. Like if you want to go to a specialist, suppose you have a chronic problem, you are going to a physician, it is not being solved. Then what do you have to do? You have to find a specialist, isn't it? If your friend suggests that he is a specialist, how much of weight is there? If your relative suggests he is a specialist, how much of weight is there? But if the physician suggests that he is a specialist, how much of weight is there? Much more. Because someone who is in knowledge, he is recommending that he is a specialist. Ignorant person may say whatever. So Kṛṣṇa is using this word here, Tamahu Pandita Buddha, these sages. Sages means who have already achieved perfection. So those perfected people call such practitioners or such aspirants who are performing action which is based on knowledge. Knowledge which Kṛṣṇa is giving as learned. One is understood to be in full knowledge whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. Not easy. Because if the endeavor is devoid for sense gratification, then an ignorant will not work. He will simply not work. He will say, why should I work? It is like saying, you have to go to the job, but don't worry for salary. You say, why will I go? If I don't get the salary, why should I go? He has no conception of higher motive. He has no conception of duty or advancement or purification. He only knows one aspect. What is that? Sense gratification. अगर कुछ मिलता है, धंधा पानी होता है तो जाएगा, वरना अपना टाइम क्यों खाली खराब करेगा? So here Kṛṣṇa is saying that one is understood to be in full knowledge. That means that person is having realization whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification, and is said by the sages to be the worker from whom the reaction of work has been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So just see what Bhagavad Gita is enabling. Bhagavad Gita is giving us this fire of knowledge, which can burn up all the reactions of our actions, not only of this life, of all our previous life. If we accept and if we apply. So let us see the purport. I'll try to complete this section today. It is from 19 to 24. So you got the theme, how one has to act, not for personal motive, not for personal desire, not for self. That is very low level of category. Like this kids you see, what is their interest? What is their interest? Only play. Because they do not know any enjoyment which is higher than what is the level. But will we do that? Will we waste our time like that? No, because we are aware that our time has more value. And if I am situated in knowledge, I can enjoy much better. But they are not aware of this. So they will be involved and absorbed throughout their childhood in this kind of plaything only. So here Krishna is uplifting us. Krishna is enabling us to come to the platform of higher level of consciousness by giving us this knowledge. And he is recommending that if you are situated in this knowledge and then you apply actions, then your actions will be free from reaction. So it is akarmani karma ye pashed. One who is able to see in action. How? Because he is situated in knowledge. His every action is backed by this knowledge. So Prabhupada says only a person in full knowledge can understand the activities of a person in Krishna consciousness. So who can know that the other person is in Gyan Agni? One who is already situated. An ignorant cannot know. Ignorant will never be able to know that. Because the person in Krishna consciousness is devoid of all kinds of sense gratificatory propensities, it is to be understood that he has burned up the reaction of his work by perfect knowledge. Now, what is that perfect knowledge? The perfect knowledge is yogam. Yoga karmashu kaushalam. Now, what is the yoga? Yoga means our constitutional position, our eternal position, our eternal relation with Krishna. Right now in this world, what kind of relation we have? All of us have relation based on body. Since the time this body took birth, relationship was fostered or entered. And as soon as the body is dead, what about the relationship? What about the relationship? It is dead. But the soul, the spirit soul, is neither taking birth nor it dies. So spirit soul is eternal. And the relationship of the spirit is with the supreme spirit. That is the super soul or the supreme personality of Godhead. And that relationship is never terminated. It is eternal. So one who has entered the eternal relationship, then he is not affected by temporary. Are you getting my point? If one knows the eternal relationship, then temporary things will not be affected. I'll give you some practical example to understand. Like someone knows, like we were seeing, the light was gone. The light was momentarily gone. But that does not mean the class will not be there. We had thought that we will go down and give the class. So temporary things will come and go. You get my point? Temporary thing, this is the nature of this material world. That everything will be coming into existence and it will be terminating. But who is situated in the knowledge of permanent relationship, he will not be affected. And one who is not situated in this permanent relationship, he will always be affected. He will always be in a difficult position, in a painful situation. So here Prabhupada is saying that who is in perfect knowledge of his constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have relation with the Lord. And what is the relation? The relation is that the Lord is supreme and we are subordinate. It is not that we and the Supreme Lord are the same. Like you have a director here. Huh? All of you have a director. Director is the highest post in IARA. So the position of the director and the position of the student cannot be the same. If someone says he is insane, insane समझते हैं ना, पागल है, he is mad. Just bear today, little bit of heat. Gradually it will come. ये पंखा भी चला दो, if you can run this fan. So very important is to be situated in knowledge, because if one is not situated in this knowledge, one if is not situated in Jnana Agni, then every action will bind him and grind him and force him to come again in the body and remain at what level? ये पंखा चला दो, नहीं चलता, खराब है, एक इलेक्ट्रिशियन बुला के ठीक करा दो. Don't just think of the class on Saturday. Think of the class on Monday. This is standard with all of us. Anyway, so very important is, unless and until we have the relationship with the Supreme, we will have relationship with this material world. So that sankalpa. Normally, what is the sankalpa? Sankalpa is based on matter. Sankalpa is made on this prakriti. And this prakriti is comprising of the three gunas. So here Kṛṣṇa is saying that once whose every endeavor is devoid of kama sankalpa. So even if the mind relates to this matter, to this material world, to the temporary manifestation of this world, one who is situated in Jnana Agni, he is not affected. Why? Because his decision will be based on this Jnana which Kṛṣṇa is giving. That is what Arjuna will say. Nashta moha smriti labdva. Tat prasadat maya achut. Sthito asmi gata sandeha. Then only karishe vachanam tava. Unless and until the ignorance is removed by the knowledge which Kṛṣṇa is given, one will never be able to free from the reaction of his action. He will be bound. So here, what is this knowledge? The knowledge which Kṛṣṇa is saying here is of eternal relationship, yogam, which Kṛṣṇa says, imam vivasvate yogam. The relationship with the Supreme Lord. He is actually learned who has attained to such perfection of knowledge. Development of this knowledge of eternal relationship with the Lord is compared to fire. Clear? What is this fire? It is yoga. There are two things. If you are in yoga, then you will never be in roga. And if you are in bhoga, one is always in roga. This Kṛṣṇa will explain well. We'll come to the 5th chapter. Why? Because one who is after bhoga, he is ignorant. Development of this knowledge of eternal servitude to the Lord is compared to the fire. Such a fire, once kindled, can burn up all kinds of reactions to burn. Understood? Some extent, at least theoretically. So now Kṛṣṇa will say that how to practice it, how to practice this principle. This is the 20th verse. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya tripto nirashaya karmani abhi pravritto api neva kinchit karoti sa. So tyaktva. Tyaktva means abandoning or giving up. What is to be given up? Not the action, but the result or the return or the reward of the action, which is karma phala. Attachment. Attachment to the actions, what we receive as a result. And how one can become detached or free from the attachment to action is one who is nitya tripto. One who is nitya tripta. Tripta, you understand? One who is satisfied. One who is full. One who is empty, he will always be desiring, he will always be hungry. The one who is always ever satisfied. And nirashaya. Nirashaya means without any false shelter. Asha, you know, hope. Everyone in this world is having some hope. Hope against hope. And that hope is the fuel or the impetus for one to perform act. But what kind of action he will perform? Action that will bind him. So one who is free from such false shelter or such false hopes. And he is karmani api pravitto api. He is always active. That means he is always performing his duty. And pravitto api. Pravitto means that he is fully engaged. Neva kinchit karoti sa. Although performing all action, he is not bound by the reaction. Abandoning all attachments to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent. Independent means he is not attached to the fruits of his action. He performs no fruitive actions, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. So this is how one has to practice. So many times in this section of Karma Yoga, Kṛṣṇa is talking about abandoning one's attachment to the result. Not be influenced by the outcome or not being inspired by what will be the return or the reward. So that is the platform of desire. So continuously Kṛṣṇa is enlightening and educating to come to the level of duty, performing duty. So Prabhupada says this freedom from the bondage of action is possible only in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So what is Kṛṣṇa consciousness? That action is to be performed for Kṛṣṇa. If you are doing studying can also be for pleasure of Kṛṣṇa. How? How can study be for the pleasure of Kṛṣṇa? Even sleeping can be for the pleasure of Kṛṣṇa. You name any activity. It can be for the pleasure of Kṛṣṇa. Not vikarma, prescribed actions. How studying can be for the pleasure of Kṛṣṇa? Think, बोलिए. Think more deeply. Yeah, so how it will please Kṛṣṇa? Yeah. So as a student, you can learn your academic knowledge and also you can learn Bhagavad Gita. You need to be student. Huh? And by your studies, what you can do? You can become a good scientist and you can preach Bhagavad Gita. Like you see Dolamani. Dolamani sir is a scientist, but he preaches Bhagavad Gita. So although he is working or although you are studying, your work can become worship. This kind of work is worship. Not any work is worship. Any work is binding. What kind of work is worship? When the result is offered to Kṛṣṇa. You have heard now? People have this saying or this slogan, work is worship. But no, work is not worship. Kṛṣṇa is educating here, work is bondage. That work which is done for the pleasure of Kṛṣṇa, that which is made as an offering to Kṛṣṇa, that work becomes worship, which is prescribed by Kṛṣṇa. What Arjuna's fighting becomes worship. The pujari may worship in the temple by offering lamb or by offering flowers. But Arjuna is also worshipping Kṛṣṇa. How? By shooting arrows. Both are for the pleasure of Kṛṣṇa. This is knowledge. This science one has to learn. That is the science which is given in Bhagavad Gita. When we will come to the 18th chapter, Kṛṣṇa will speak that by your every occupation, by your every action, you can make your action become worship. How? By applying that action based on my recommendation. So even if you are studying, your study can become worship. So you are sincere in your study, you are gaining knowledge. Why? To become a scientist. Why to become a scientist? Not that people will come and, bow down to me, or I will get good salary, I can have good wife, I can have big car and all this sense gratification. That I will use the position for preaching this knowledge to others. So if that sankalpa is there, Kṛṣṇa is speaking in the last verse, Kama sankalpa varjita. So your aspiration should not be based on your selfish motivation. Aspiration should be based on service to Krishna. Then that work will become worship. A housewife is preparing food for the family members. Is it worship? No. It is based on her attachment with the family members. But if the same offering she first makes for Krishna, makes it as a prasad, and then offers to the family members, she will also advance, and all the family members will also advance. And her work will become worship. So this is the art of work which Krishna is saying. Yoga karmashu kaushalam. What is added? Yoga. Karma in any case we will have to do. One cannot be free from karma. But that karma will become the cause of our perfection when that work is done for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And that science Krishna is teaching in Bhagavad Gita. In Krishna consciousness, everything we do is for the pleasure of Krishna. Coming here and speaking, why? It is not out of my choice. Why? Because Krishna wants it. Krishna speaks in the end of the Bhagavad Gita. So the desire and the action, both is based on pleasing Krishna. So if that is, for that what one has to do, one has to be devoid of selfless motivation, and one has to be free from the desire to enjoy the fruits. And he has to be satisfied. Where is the satisfaction coming? Satisfaction is not of the head. Where is the satisfaction experienced? Heart. Satisfaction is of the heart. And to find satisfaction, one has to go beyond matter. Within the matter, there cannot be any satisfaction. Ego can be satisfied. To some extent, ego can be satisfied. What is the ego? I am better than others. But as soon as you see someone else higher or better than you, then what happens to you? Your ego is smashed. And there will always be. There will always be. But satisfaction is a reward as a result of pleasing Krishna. So when we perform action, when we perform work, which is with this aspiration to please Krishna, and one is devoid of the attachment to fruit, so every action can become yajna. This is Krishna is explaining what he said in the 3rd chapter is Karma Yoga. So how to perform Karma Yoga, sacrifice, when one is situated in knowledge. So this knowledge Krishna is giving here. So this freedom from the bondage of action is possible only in Krishna consciousness. Why? Because in Krishna consciousness, both the aspiration and the act is both for Krishna. And of course, is the result or the reward or the return. When one is doing everything for Krishna, a Krishna conscious person acts out of pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is not possible at the lower level of platform. It is only possible when you have love for Lord. Right now, what we have love for? We have love for our own body. We have love for our mind and senses. Whatever will please my mind and senses, that is pleasing to me. He is not even attached to his personal maintenance for everything. He is left to Krishna. Nor is he anxious to secure things, not to protect things already in his possession. So we see in this world, everyone is very anxious. What is the anxiousness? One devotee told very nice explanation of what is anxiety. Anxiety samajhte hai na? Chinta. He said, anxiety is the interest. Anxiety is the interest you pay for the loan that you have not taken. Got it? समझ में आया? चिंता वो ब्याज आप दे रहे हैं जिसका आपने कर्जा लिया ही नहीं. और संसार में सब लोग ऐसे यही बोझ लेके ठो रहे. So much anxiety. Why? Everything is not in their hand, but still they want to act as if they can control. So here, this is what Krishna is relieving Arjuna, and through Arjuna is relieving all of us from anxiety. So Prabhupada is saying that a Krishna conscious person acts out of pure love for the Supreme Personality of God, and therefore he has no attraction for the result of the action. He is not even attached to his personal maintenance. Everyone is so much attached to his personal maintenance. क्या है? हाँ? रोटी, कपड़ा और मकान. Everyone is thinking about it. But a Krishna conscious person, he does not have to think. Why? Because he knows who will maintain. Krishna will maintain. If you work for Krishna, then Krishna will maintain. If you work for your own self, then karma will maintain. Karma is maintaining us. So there are two factors. One is the karma factor and the other is the Krishna factor. So if we work within the karma factor, then the Krishna factor does not act. And if we come to the Krishna consciousness level and we work in Krishna consciousness, then karma does not act. So we have to uplift from the lower platform of karma to come to the platform of Krishna. Then we can be free, relieved from karma. This is better. Nor is he anxious to secure things, nor to protect things already in his possession. He does his duty to the best of his ability. This is very important. And leaves everything to Krishna. So we work as if we are in control. It is our duty, that everything depends on us. But after working, what is the consciousness? That nothing is actually in our hand. Detachment. This is a sign of a karma or action without fruitive reactions. Any other action, therefore, devoid of Krishna consciousness, is binding upon the worker. And that is the real aspect of the karma as explained here before. So Krishna is inspiring Arjuna, and through Arjuna is inspiring all of us, the sadhakas, the aspirants, to come to this platform of karma yoga. Now this, when action is performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, that action is yoga. So it is karma yoga. And what kind of karma yoga is this? Nishkam karma. So this is to be practiced. This is what Krishna is saying. So although performing all action, he says in action, Karmani akarma japashe. Clear? And how is the perfection? So this is the practice stage. Principle Krishna has given in the verses before 16 to 18. And now he is giving the practice stage. 19 and 20 is the practice stage. How it is to be practiced. So what is very important is our sankalpa. What kind of sankalpa we? What we have to change? Our sankalpa. From selfish motive to become selfless. And how he acts. What is the consciousness of the person who is situated in this knowledge? This is the 21st verse. From 21st to 24th. Nirashiya chittatma tyaktva sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma urvannapnoti kilvisha. One example was given today that if it would not be Nirashi, Vasudeva and Devaki, every year they were having a child. And what they were saying? That mercilessly their child was being killed by Kamsa. So normally what the family will do? What the husband and wife will do? After one or two child, what they will do? What they will do? They will stop having a child, isn't it? But if Vasudeva and Devaki would have stopped, then Krishna would have never appeared. This is very high level of which consciousness? Duty consciousness. Why? Because they were told that the 8th child will be the killer of Kamsa. So they waited patiently. They were not distracted or diverted by what was happening presently. So similarly, if we want to receive the ultimate goal, then we should not be affected by what is happening temporarily. Because if we are looking for temporary gain, then we will be bereft of the final gain. Then we cannot have it. So very, very high level of consciousness, Nirashi. That was Nirashraya, without having false shelter. And here it is Nirashi. You see, in the 20th verse, Krishna is saying Nitya Tipto Nirashaya. And here it is Nirashi. And Yat Chittatma Tyakta Sarva Parigraha. Such a man of understanding. Which understanding? Spiritual understanding. What is the understanding? Spiritual understanding? What is the understanding? Boliye. No. What is the understanding? What is that knowledge? Which will act like fire. You are old student, you are regular student. But what about others? You can answer online also. Which knowledge? Prabhupada is saying a work of a man who is, okay, a man of understanding. What understanding? Understanding is based on knowledge. Now, what is that knowledge or what is that understanding? Otherwise, action will be the same. Huh? Yes. One who is in his eternal relationship. One is acting in relationship with Krishna. Otherwise, he will not be able to act. So, such a man of understanding, what is his understanding of his eternal relation with Krishna? Acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled. So, acting with minds and intelligence perfectly controlled, that means he is not affected by the Prakriti or the material modes of the nature. Gives up the sense of proprietorship over the possessions. So this is Nirashi. And Tyaktva Sarva. Tyaktva means to give up. And Parigraha means possessions. So what he gives up is false proprietorship. In any case, any proprietor in this world, what is the result of his proprietorship? That he is kicked out. The greatest proprietor of one of the modern era of this human race is Alexander the Great. So many times I have said. What he did? He conquered the whole world. And he got all the riches. He grabbed all the riches from everywhere. And what happened? He died at a young age. And when he died, he demonstrated three things at his death. You know what he demonstrated? What were his three death wish? Anyone remembers? He wanted his hands to be out of his coffin, of his graveyard, so that everyone can see that his hands were empty. Whatever he possessed, he cannot take even a dime of it or a penny of it. सुना है ना, खाली हाथ आएंगे और खाली हाथ ये केवल सुनते हैं, लेकिन क्या नहीं करते, समझते नहीं. इसलिए प्रभुपाद जी क्या लिख रहे हैं? Such a man of understanding. It is very hard to get a man of understanding. There is hardly a man of understanding. So mind and intelligence perfectly controlled. Mind and intelligence will go towards matter, towards temporary things, towards temporary allurement. But one who is situated in this relationship, he will not be disturbed, or he will not be deviated. So Prabhupada is saying that a Krishna conscious person does not expect good. Okay, let me first complete the translation. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled. Where is the control coming from? Where is the control coming from? One level one may say from knowledge. No, it is coming from Krishna. Why? Because he's situated in the relationship. If he's situated in the relationship, the mind and intelligence is controlled by Krishna. Otherwise, it is not controlled. It is controlled by Prakriti, the three gunas. And until the time the Prakriti is controlling, understanding can never come. So then it is possible for him to give up the sense of proprietorship over his possessions. Very difficult. Till the time you don't have a new phone, you are not attached. But as soon as you pay for a phone and you have it, what is your mindset? It is yours. It belongs to you. If you see the phone is being used by someone, what we will say? Excuse me, is this my phone? If one is very cultured, he will say that. And if he is ignorant, what he will say? How dare you take my phone? And just few minutes back, was it your phone? Was it your phone? No. So that understanding is not there. So similarly, in this material world of the temporary things and temporary relationship, we are very much absorbed and possessed. So here Kṛṣṇa is saying that a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. So this is the stage of perfection. When he has practiced and he has come to the stage of mind and intelligence, which is perfectly controlled. This is perfection, isn't it? We are all aspiring that our mind and intelligence can become controlled. Not by Maya, but by Krishna. So what he does? Tyaktva sarva parigraha. He gives up all false possessions, because possessions are relating to mind and body, which is temporary. And his shariram kevalam karma. He acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. A Krishna conscious person does not expect good or bad result in his activities. That is what Krishna has said. Which verse? Second chapter, 48 verse. 48 verse. 2.48. Yogastu kuru karmani sangam taktva dhananjaya siddhyo siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Perform your duty equipoised, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Our attachment is to both. We want 100% success and not even 1% failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So such a person who is a plan of understanding, whose mind and intelligence is both controlled, does not expect good or bad result. That means he is not at the level of duality. Duality समझते हैं ना, द्वंद. द्वंद क्या है? हाँ, अच्छा बुरा, हाँ, सुख दुख, सर्दी गर्मी, हाँ, सफलता असफलता, जय पराजय, मान अपमान, ये सब किसके लिए है? शरीर के लिए. और शरीर क्या होगा? छूटेगा. तो उससे ज्यादा डिस्टर्ब नहीं होना चाहिए, उससे ज्यादा इफेक्ट नहीं होना चाहिए. लेकिन ये कौन हो सकता है? Because his mind and intelligence are fully controlled. द्वारा प्रभुपाद जी लिख रहे हैं. How? Because he knows that, because he is part and parcel of the Supreme. तो ये बहुत important है. This knowledge is very important. So his every action is inspired by knowledge. Which knowledge? Of his eternal relationship. The part played by him as a part and parcel of the whole is not his own activity, but only being done through him by the Supreme. This is very, very important. कि वो ये जानता है कि वो क्या है? वो भगवान का एक अंश है. और अंश किसके अनुसार कार्य करता है? होल के. अब ये लैपटॉप है, ये किसके अनुसार काम कर रहा है? मैं भी चाहूँ इसको
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, you are muted, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Is it audible now?
Yes, Prabhu, yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Voice is reaching you?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Yes.
So the part which is played by him is not out of his own activity, but is being done through him by the Supreme. When the hand move, it does not move out of his own accord. Prabhupada is giving an example. आप अपना हाथ मूव करते हैं तो क्या हाथ की इच्छा होती है चलने की? नहीं. उसको सिग्नल कौन देता है? Mind. But the endeavor of the whole body. A Krishna conscious person is always dovetailed with the supreme desire. For he has no desire for personal sense gratification. He moves exactly like a part of the machine. As a machine parts require oiling and cleaning for maintenance, so a Krishna conscious man maintains himself by work just to remain fit for action in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So basically, he is not very much focused on his own self. What is he focused on? He is focused on his service. So he just maintains himself to keep fit to perform his service. He is therefore immune to all reactions of his endeavors. And Prabhupada gives an example. Like an animal, he has no proprietorship even over his body. A cruel proprietor of an animal sometimes kills the animal in his possession, yet the animal does not protest, nor does it have any real independence. A Krishna conscious person fully engaged in self-realization has very little time to falsely possess any material object. For maintaining body and soul, he does not require unfair means of accumulating money. This is very important. Many times we have discussed that if dependence is on Krishna, then one need not worry for his maintenance. And for his maintenance, what one has to do? One has to earn. But what kind of earning is not recommended? Unfair means. What is unfair means? Cheating, which is rampant. If you do business now, today the biggest threat is what? Cheating. He does not therefore become contaminated by such material sins. He is free from all reactions of his actions. So everyone in this material world is very possessive. उसके अंदर स्वामित्व की भावना है. लेकिन जो व्यक्ति कृष्ण के लिए कार्य करता है वो स्वामित्व की भावना से रिक्त है. क्योंकि स्वामी कौन है? कृष्ण. और अगर कृष्ण के लिए स्वामित्व की भावना नहीं है तो स्वाभाविक है किसके लिए भावना होगी? स्वयं के लिए. तो जब तक स्वामित्व की भावना रहेगी तब तक एक्शन और रिएक्शन का क्रम चलता रहेगा. वो छूट नहीं सकता, उससे आदमी बच नहीं सकता. तो ये इनकी क्या भावना है? नेक्स्ट वर्स. यदीक्षा लाभ संतुष्टो द्वंद्वोतीतो विमत्सर समासिद्धो अशुद्धो च कृत्वापि न निबध्यते. तो यद इच्छा लाभ संतुष्टो, that whatever gain comes of his own, he is santushto. Labh means gain. So he is satisfied with gain which comes out of his own accord. And dvanda tito, he is free from duality. Duality is what? Gain and loss, victory and defeat, honor and dishonor. And he is also, there is one more quality added, which is vimatsaraha. Vimatsara means he is free from envy. If he sees someone who has more than him, he does not envy. In this material world, everyone has envy. If he sees the other is better, do we have appreciation for the other person? We wish that we should have it. So what is that indication of envy? So, but he is vimatsara. And he is sama. Sama means he is equal. What? In siddho, in perfection, in success, and asiddho means in failure. That means he is not temporarily affected, either in success or in failure. He is same. Kritvan api na nibadhate. So such a person also performing action, he is not bound, he is never entangled. He who is satisfied with gain which comes of his own accord, who is free from duality and who does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled although performing action. So Krishna is talking about equality, equanimity, that not to be affected by a temporary gain or temporary loss. A Krishna conscious person does not make much endeavor even to maintain his body. He is satisfied with gains which are obtained by their own accord. I'll give you one example. You see, you watch, many, most of us have the aspiration to become rich. Is there anyone who has no aspiration to become rich? Raise your hand. कौन धनी नहीं होना चाहता? अपना हाथ उठाइए. कौन गरीब होना चाहता है? Is there anyone? Everyone wants to be rich. That desire is there or not? But can one become rich by his intelligence? So many times we see many businessmen, they have big rise, like you see Ambani. Was there any Ambani family 100 years before? Was there any other, this Adani family 100 years before? No. So they have risen in few years. And who were rich many, many years back, where are they? Are they somewhere? They are nowhere. आज से 1000 साल पहले या 100 साल पहले हिंदुस्तान का सबसे रिचेस्ट पर्सन कौन था? किसी को पता है? नो वन नोस. तो अगर इंटेलिजेंस से पैसा आता, अपने प्रयास से पैसा आता, तो जब वो एक बार रिच बन गए तो गरीब कैसे हो गए? गरीब हो सकता है फिर? अगर अपनी, आप कहते हैं ना, हार्डशिप से, बाय योर इंटेलिजेंस एंड बाय योर वर्किंग हार्ड, यू कैन चेंज, बोलते हैं ना. तो अगर ऐसा ही होता तो हाउ द रिच कैन बिकम पुअर एंड हाउ द पुअर कैन बिकम रिच? This is to be thought about. So this is, he is ever satisfied with gains which comes obtained of their own accord. That means he does not have to put his so much of energy in trying for temporary gain, because whatever he gains today will be lost tomorrow. Finally, at the time of leaving the body, surely it will be lost. छूटेगा या नहीं छूटेगा? आप चाहे चाहो ना चाहो, आपको छोड़ाना ही पड़ेगा, छूटना ही पड़ेगा. शरीर को खींच के यहाँ से निकाल लिया जाएगा आत्मा को. He neither begs nor borrows. It's very important. We should apply these principles. Whatever we have, we should be satisfied. We should neither beg nor borrow. जो है उसमें गुजारा नहीं होता, जो नहीं है उसमें भी नहीं होगा. ये पक्की बात है. लेकिन क्या नहीं है? संतोष नहीं, समझ नहीं. But he labors honestly as far as in his power, and is satisfied with whatever is obtained by his own honest labor. He is therefore independent in his livelihood. He is not dependent on others. He does not allow anyone's service to hamper his own service in Krishna consciousness. This is very important principle. He does not allow anyone's service to hamper his own service in Krishna consciousness. That means he is not affected by anyone's favor or aversion. Whatever is his duty, he will perform. However, for the service of the Lord, he can participate in any kind of action without being disturbed by the duality of the material world. The duality of the material world is felt in terms of heat and cold, or misery and happiness. A Krishna conscious person is always above duality because he does not hesitate to act in any way for the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, he studied both in success and in failure. We see the life of our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. He started to preach from 1922 when he first met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But when did he receive success? 1966. How many years? How many years? 44 years. So in this 44 years, did he receive success? What did he receive? Failures. So if he would have been affected by failures, then ISKCON would have never been established. And we would have never got the chance to read and study Bhagavad Gita. This is what it means, that a Krishna conscious person is above, he does not hesitate to act in success or in failure. So this is the level of love. Love means to serve. लव का मतलब क्या है? प्रेम का मतलब क्या है? भगवान से प्रेम करने का मतलब क्या है? कि भगवान के लिए सेवा करना. और अगर आप सेवा करोगे तो आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा? सैक्रिफाइस. किसका सैक्रिफाइस करना पड़ेगा? अपने मन और अहंकार का. नहीं तो आप सेवा नहीं कर सकते. Because he does not hesitate to act in such a way for the satisfaction of Krishna. But what we do, we always hesitate. Why? Because we want to work for our own satisfaction. So then one cannot be Krishna conscious. Then one cannot be in devotional service. Therefore, he studied both in success and failure. These signs are visible when one is fully in transcendental knowledge. समझ में आ रहा है? तो ये लक्षण है किसके? एक महापुरुष के. महापुरुष को अगर आपको पहचानना है तो ये सिद्धांत है. कौन बोल रहा है कि वो महापुरुष है, उससे वो महापुरुष नहीं होगा. महापुरुष किसके आधार पे होगा? इन सिद्धांतों के आधार पे. गत संगस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थित चेतसा यज्ञाचरत कर्म समग्रम प्रविलीयते. A man who is gata sangasya muktasya. Sangha means attachment. Attachment to material modes or the influence of the material mode. So he is muktasya. Mukta means he is free. He is freed from all the three modes which comes from the material nature. How? Jnana avasthita cetasa. Because he is fully situated in transcendental knowledge. And how he acts? Yagna acharata karma. What is his karma? What is the acharan of his karma? Yagya. Every action he performs as yagya, as sacrifice. Yagya acharat karma. Samagram praviliyate. And because he performs every action which is transcendental, he is always situated, or he merges in the transcendence always. That means he is never affected by the three modes. He is never affected by Prakriti or this forces of the Prakriti. Becoming fully Krishna conscious, one is freed from all the dualities and thus free from the contaminations of the material mode. He can become liberated because he knows his constitutional position in relationship with Krishna, and thus his mind cannot be drawn from Krishna consciousness. Consequently, whatever he does for Krishna, who is the primeval Vishnu. Therefore, all his works are technically sacrifices, because sacrifice aims at satisfying the Supreme Person Vishnu. हमने पहले पढ़ा है, यज्ञ का मतलब क्या है? यज्ञ अर्थात कर्मणो अन्यत्र नहीं. यज्ञो वै विष्णु. Yajna is performed for Lord Vishnu. So your Prabhupada is saying that sacrifice aims at satisfying Supreme Person Vishnu or Krishna. The resultant reaction of such work certainly merges into transcendence, and one does not suffer material effects. Okay. So here ends this section of how to perform action which is based on knowledge. Performing karma on the platform of Jnana. That Jnana which Krishna is giving in this chapter, transcendental. एनी क्वेश्चन और क्लैरिफिकेशन? कुछ चर्चा करनी है आपको, कुछ पूछना चाहते हैं, कुछ क्लियर नहीं है या कहीं संशय है तो पूछिए। पूछिए। I said controlled by Krishna. One who is fully Krishna conscious, then his mind and intelligence and senses is controlled by whom? By Krishna. Here, how Krishna is controlling? How is the control effected by Krishna here? Just think. How? How Krishna is controlling the mind and intelligence of such a person? Yes, Devadat? बोलिए।
प्रभुजी
बोलिए, स्पीक देवदत्त।
प्रभुजी मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था। हरे कृष्णा प्रभुजी।
You heard the question, na? She heard the question. You want to ask question? No, I am asking the answer. How Krishna is controlling the mind and intelligence here? Who knows the answer? Very simple, very obvious. We have discussed for 1 hour, more than 1 hour. Through knowledge. Through knowledge. How is he controlling the mind and intelligence? Through the knowledge which he is given. One who is situated in his knowledge, how is he controlled by? He is guided by knowledge. He is not guided by his mind and senses. He is guided by this knowledge. The knowledge which Krishna is imparting. Okay. So this control is there of Krishna. How? By his educating, his uplifting, his connecting us. And through that connection, one is controlled. Okay, yes, Devdat, you have a question. Boliye. Unmute and speak quickly.
Yes, प्रभुजी, am I audible प्रभुजी?
हाँ?
Am I audible प्रभुजी?
स्पीकर है ना यार, मेरी आवाज जा तो रही।
Audible प्रभुजी। Am I audible प्रभुजी?
Okay, anyone else? Your question है या कोई संशय है तो पूछिए। Yes, सुप्रिया दे दीजिए। हरे कृष्ण। हाँ, okay, yes. Yeah, I'm hearing you. It's okay. Yeah. Yes. No, it has to be work which is based on prescription and guidance. Both. Like I said, if you are preparing meals in your house, it can become worship. First, it is not to be prepared only for self-satisfaction. Why it is being prepared? Because it will be offered to the Supreme Lord. And we will accept reverence. If it is prepared with that consciousness, with that aspiration, then even you are preparing meals is worship. Because it will be offered to the Lord. Yeah. But why you are working right now? You are working because you want to maintain yourself and your family. Is Krishna is picture? Is the Supreme Lord is in picture? No. When you are working right now, what is the aspiration to work? Is to maintain yourself and your family members. So Krishna is not in picture. Yes or no? Yes. So it will not be worship. So how to convert this work to become worship? That is what we should be intelligent to ask. So that is what I told, that when we go to the workplace, what we should try to do, we should remain intact in our following the principles of Krishna consciousness. And we should try to preach. Try to preach, and whatever reward or return that we bring, we invest in Krishna consciousness. So then why are you working? You are working for Krishna. Why you are going to the office? To preach Krishna consciousness. You will work. You will work on your own. Right? It is not that anyone comes, you will say that Gita mein ye likha hai. But you follow the principles. People will come and ask you how you are different. It will happen. Those who are devotees, our devotees, Kṛṣṇa devotees, they make an impact by their presence. And others feel the difference in what is their quality and what is the quality of others. So they get inspired and they also become devotees. We have one devotee, I know him, he is my good friend. He is in Railway Bhavan. He has made hundreds of devotees in Railway Bhavan. Hundreds. Mature people. 40, 50, 60, who were never devotee in their life before. Two of them came with us in the yatra also. From that railway. So how? But he is following the Krishna and whatever money you are earning, it should not be again for our own purpose. Then it is selfish. So yoga means that you perform the action and you offer to Krishna. So right now we cannot offer 100%. Begin with one. That is how you will advance. 99% for you, but at least 1% for Krishna. 1 can become 2, 2 can become 10, 10 can become 20, and gradually you will advance. But if you don't even, the selfishness is you don't want to give even 1% to Krishna. You only want and desire and demand from Krishna. So work will become worship when? Under guidance. And the result is to be offered to Krishna. We should not enjoy the result on our own. Then we'll be bound by the reaction of the action. So I tell my students that whatever they earn, they should give a percentage to propagate Krishna consciousness. So at least that part of work has become worship. Even 5% work is worship. That is big progress. From 0 to 5. 5 can become 10. It will gradually, as your consciousness will evolve, you will be able to understand. So as you will purify, this understanding will come. Impure person understanding cannot come. He will always have this anxiety. कमाऊंगा नहीं तो खाऊंगा कैसे? अभी कोविड आया, 2 साल लोगों ने नहीं कमाया, तो सब मर गए, भूखे मर गए. Who is maintaining? Money or Krishna? But we don't accept. Don't accept. That conviction is not there. That understanding is not there. Even COVID came and went. Did we learn anything? Nothing we learned. So dull-headed. There is no, speck of intelligence in our head. Why? Because everywhere lust is captured. Everywhere there is lust. Okay, what is your question? So you understand? Raising children can become worship. Preparing food, everything can become worship. That is what the spiritual guidance is. To convert karma into Krishna Arpit karma. Okay. So that proves that the mind is silly. Don't adhere by your mind. The mind will make us remain silly. But we have to become intelligent. Okay, go ahead.
Sir, during student life, we don't have so much money. Okay. During student life.
Why do you need money for student life?
No.
The first question is, why do you need money for student life? If you are studying in IRI, the students are studying, do you have to bring money from home?
I didn't study in IIR.
Okay.
I studied in State University. So very limited scholarship, maybe 500,000. So
But how much is the fees? Fees is also this much only.
Fees is free for one student.
Free.
My question is not that time.
Actually, for studying, you don't need money then. Money is required for other activities.
Okay. That time I used to have desire that after getting job, I will purchase very costly jewelry.
Okay.
That time I couldn't purchase. So after I figured out the position of science.
Okay, fine. So then next.
Now I'm purchasing.
So
Then and I'm affected by this simple reaction because I am not without the position and having money.
see, what is the purpose of living? The purpose of living is to satisfy one's own desire. Isn't it? So what kind of living is this?
So it is written from the
Where?
so and desire.
Uh,
So
Krishna is elevating us from the desire platform to come to the platform of duty, and from duty to love. Why we want to remain at that lower level?
we should not desire for
We should desire for Krishna's betterment. If we desire for Krishna, how to serve Krishna, Krishna will take care of us. Even if you buy costly dresses, what changes in your life? Anything changes? Nothing changes. Nothing changes. Only that is what only ego is satisfied. Anything else is satisfied? That is what it is saying, that the mind and intelligence. So that is what it is. So we are on the level where we are operating just on the basis of satisfying the mind and senses. So that kind of life is not, the human life is meant for responsibility. Isn't it? If we are not taking any responsibility, then we don't do justice to human form of life. Then why we should be given human life? If a student is given admission here, in 4 years he does not complete the PhD, will he be, prevailed that he will continue to get scholarship and attempt? Will he get? No. He'll be kicked out. I'll tell you one thing. You go once on your birthday or some special day to an orphanage, and there you donate the worth of your dress, sweets to them. And you see where you get more happiness, in buying a dress or giving it or donating it to those poor children. I'll share with you with one actual story. One of my friend is a very big businessman. He keeps traveling all over the world, and he was sharing his experience with me. Very elderly, very mature person. He has traveled the world many times, or most of the European countries and also America many times. So he once went to Bhutan, not Bhutan, Burma. And when he went to Burma, there was an old age home. So he went with a lot of fruits. He's a big businessman, so he was buying some pulses from there. And he said that the system was that the old people, one side men, one side women, they lined up. And they were distributing fruits to them. And these old men and women, they were grabbing more than one. So he felt bad. That what is this? We are voluntarily come to distribute. Why are they grabbing? We have come to give it to them only, na? Why they are grabbing? So he felt, displeased. This is foolishness. Why did I come here? So when later he was told by his host that the same day some Buddhist monks were coming to that old age home. And the elderly people, they were grabbing not for themselves, but to offer it to the monks. So this person had tears in his eyes. That look at the selfless attitude of these, unpowerished people. I have so much given by God. Then what am I offering? Little. And this is all they will get, and they will offer it to the monks. Selfish life means frustration. You cannot have that happiness. That is what I am saying. Happiness is of the heart. It is not of the head. If you buy even one costly dress, your heart is not satisfied. That is why you have to buy another. Where is the satisfaction? And if you see someone wearing a better dress than you, that satisfaction turns into frustration. This is what is going on. This is sheer. This is what Krishna is saying. What is the thought process? Where is the level of knowledge being applied? Every day we wear the same dress. Only cloth change, the color remains the same. We have the same style. Every day same. We don't have to think of what others are wearing, what fashion is coming, what fashion is going out. We have no such anxiety. And you see the faces of our devotees, Huh? They are always sparkling. So these false things will not give us satisfaction. This is a myth. We are born in myth, we exist in myth, and we die in myth. For that we have to change. First, know the principles. Kṛṣṇa is giving the principles, then integrate in your practice. It is 100 times difficult to practice than knowing the principle. 100 times or even more than that. Why? Because the impure mind will not allow it. You will not be able to do that. It requires lot of mercy. Lot of mercy. And once you start to practice, then you can have the understanding or the realization. And this is what Kṛṣṇa is giving here. He's telling Arjuna, don't be motivated by your foolish, selfish motive. This is what we have to do. Bhagavad Gita is for transformation. It is not for information. Then, we are cheated. We have cheated ourselves. We have not applied the advantage of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Okay. There is a chat question. This 22nd sloka, he does not allow anyone's service to hamper his own service. What this means, Prabhuji? Very simple. Rag and dvesh, honor and dishonor. You are serving to the best of your capacity, but someone comes and tells that your service is useless. Then what you are going to do? You're going to be discouraged. But there is someone not performing his service and your service is dependent on him. So what normally people will do? They will give up. Never to give up. Put your 100% best endeavor and effort, even conditions, even in unfavorable situations. Prabhupada says a very beautiful statement in the second chapter that he is very daring in performing in service. He takes all types of risks. If service has been assigned, we should put all our effort, all our intelligence, all our energy to execute it. Not be affected by what others are speaking. If they are speaking favorably, then I will continue. If they are speaking adverse, then I will discontinue. No. Then again, we are working on the platform of rag and dvesh, attachment and aversion. Then it is not service. Get the point? It's a higher stage. In the lower stage, it is difficult. But why to remain on the lower stage? We should aspire to come on the higher stage. How? By applying these principles. Okay, it is 10 minutes past 9. Any burning question? Or we close the session today? Thank you very much for your coming and for attending. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.